Whole class, we're still on the family, chapter 16, but this is going to be it, I promise. We are on 16G, okay? And what we're going to do is talk about this last section. Hopefully it won't last that long, but I just wanted to break it for you, the other one, because it's going to not get too long. Plus I'm getting tired. What this topic deals with in this chapter 16 is, remember, we've been talking about Ogburn and Nimcall, okay, and changes in the family. And it's the divorce rate, working women, emphasis on the individual, whatever it is, declining family size. All these changes have taken place. The last one we mentioned, I think it was the last one, is the loss of family functions, and that's what we're going to deal with, okay, loss of family functions. There's a few of them. We'll talk about them. The basic idea is that as society becomes more industrialized and becomes more specialized, individual family members can get their needs better met, and the family itself can get its needs better met by turning to institutions in society, okay, rather than doing it themselves. And you'll see what I mean by this as we go through these. And so we've seen this tendency for the family to lose its functions, okay, loss of family functions. Family still retains a core element of functions: emotional, reproduction, emotional needs, sexual. But the family has been losing some of these functions, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, first one. Protective function. In the old days, the family took care of its own members. They had a dog, they had a shotgun, they protected their own members. They didn't rely on the police. A lot of times they lived out in the frontier. They had to rely on themselves. They were self-reliant. But it was more than just physical protection. In the old days, if the father died, okay, they didn't have life insurance back then. The neighbors, the family members, the neighbors would come in and harvest the crops, okay? Fire departments. In the old days, the neighbor's barn catches on fire, your family members you form a bucket brigade, okay? And now, the fire department is more efficient than neighbors hauling buckets of water, okay? So the family has lost that function, okay? And turned it more over to other entities that are more specialized. So all kinds of protective things. The family once used to do them. The family would build a barn for themselves or their members, or they would, if the barn burned down, they would rebuild it. And again, that was their insurance. That was their fire insurance. Well, today, you can't get together with your family members. Family members are smaller. They don't have the technical expertise. Building a house today is a lot different from building a house in the old days. In the old days, it was primarily carpentry work. But now you've got HVAC, you've got heat and air, you've got electrical, you've got plumbing. In the old days, you dig a hole in the ground and put an outhouse on it. Now you got plumbing. So it's more technically sophisticated. So the family no longer takes care of the protective function. Next, we have the economic function. It used to be, in the old days, the family was a productive as well as a consumptive unit. So the family would produce the food that they ate. They had diversified family farms, and they'd produce what they ate, and then the family would sit down and consume it, okay? They produce it and then consume it. And on diversified family farms, they pretty much produced everything that they consumed. There were some exceptions, but pretty much. And if you ask, maybe not your grandparents, but your great-grandparents, I bet you they lived on a farm, and I bet they were diversified family farmers. Maybe not, but certainly your great-great-grandparents were. And, not absolutely, but probably. And what they would do is they would have, they'd have a big garden, okay, and they'd can their stuff. So they'd have fruits and vegetables throughout the year because they canned it. They would They'd have a milk cow for milk. They'd have chickens for eggs and meat. They'd have hogs for meat. Okay. So and then they'd probably have a cash crop, you know, wheat or soybeans or corn or something like that. And so what you see is that they could maintain themselves. They could produce everything they needed. My dad's family went through, and my mom's too, went through the Depression with very little cash, and that they didn't need a whole lot of cash because they produced everything they needed. Now their clothes got threadbare and worn, but you can always, you know, you just keep wearing them. You're out on the farm, it doesn't matter. And they produced everything. I mean, homemade ice cream, homemade butter, homemade jelly, homemade bread. They canned their vegetables. They canned their meat. They made their own bread. I mean, they did everything. Okay. I think I tell you in the book that Grandpa didn't have bees, so they bought their sugar. They didn't have coffee and tobacco. Didn't have tobacco and didn't have booze. He didn't brew his own liquor, although he could have. But other than that, I mean, pretty much everything they needed, they produced themselves. They're very self-reliant. And then they would sit down and they'd eat it. And I'm telling you, that was good eating. There is nothing better than homemade bread with homemade butter and homemade apple butter or apple, let's see. They used to grow wild plums, plum butter. Wild plums grow in Kansas, western Kansas. And I think they do in western Oklahoma too. And you just go out and pick the plums and then make jelly and jam out of them. It's good eating. Okay, so today, what happened with my family's farm, and I saw this take place. I was lucky to see this, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of sorry it happened, but I'm glad I got to witness it. Is I would go out to the farm, they had everything. And then each year as I'd go out, there was something less. You know, I think the hogs were the first to go, you know. And the question is well, where's the hogs? Well, it turns out that we can buy bacon in town cheaper than we can raise hogs and process the meat ourselves. And it's true, and it's economies of scale because the hog producer, he can buy tens of thousands of heads of hogs and feed them in a feedlot and process them and butcher them and do it cheaper than they can do it on the farm. Okay, and so everything, you know, then the chickens and then the milk cow. You know, I can buy milk cheaper and I can raise the cow. Economies of scale. And the last thing to go was homemade bread and homemade butter. And so what happens is that farm families today, typical farm families today, are very specialized. They produce one or maybe two crops. Okay, and they don't make their own food anymore. They buy it just like you and I do. They're highly specialized. So that day is gone. Okay, pretty much. I mean, there's some, and maybe your family does it, but in a class of 50, if there are 2 students who do that, I'd be surprised. So now what that does for the family, it does a couple of things. When you produce what you consume, you get better quality food, okay, and you appreciate it more, I think. And what it does is it gives jobs for kids. And so little kids, your sense of self-worth comes largely from your work. And I remember my mama would, it was her job at the age of 2 to gather eggs. So she'd go out with a stick and poke the chickens and get them off their nest and gather the eggs. They were her eggs. She brought them in for the family. I mean, that's a real positive thing for a kid, you know, to be contributing to the family at an early age. My dad used to plow when he was 6 years old. They'd tie him onto the clutch. So if it fell off, it'd stop the tractor and he'd be out plowing, you know. So kids worked on a farm. They were economic, productive units. And so it gave them a sense of self-worth. Okay. Next thing, religious function. In the old days, the family was kind of the core of the religious activity. There were daily Bible readings, devotions, and a lot of times when they go to churches, the family was the basic unit. You'd have an itinerant preacher, and and the family's involved. But today with specialization, we have specialized religious leaders. Now we have youth religious leaders, and, you know, the religious leaders for the adults. Kids go to Sunday school, parents go to church. It's become compartmentalized. As we become more secular, religion has been compartmentalized and kind of put over here. Okay, whereas before we were kind of a sacred society and it permeated all facets of our life. And it's been a change. Okay, and like I told you, I don't really go to church. My granddaughter goes to a Catholic church, Catholic school, but I kind of miss that. Okay. And I'll give you an example, okay? When World War II, England was hanging by their fingernails, hanging on, and they needed supplies from us. Churchill, we weren't involved in the war yet. Churchill couldn't give, FDR couldn't give Churchill anything. And so he sent Harry Hopkins over to talk to Churchill. Harry Hopkins was his confidant. And he goes over, and Hopkins is talking to Churchill. And he says to Churchill, he says, I bet you're wondering what FDR's position is on giving you war materials. And Churchill said, yes, we're desperate. And Harry Hopkins said, he told me to tell you this, whether thou goest, I will go. Where thou livest, I will live. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God shall be my God. Okay, quoting a Bible verse. And they said that Churchill just dissolved into tears, okay, because he knew now that Roosevelt was going to support him. I cannot imagine, and I mean no disrespect, I cannot imagine Kerry, Secretary of State Kerry, going off to talk to somebody on behalf of Obama and saying, whether thou goest, I will go, thy people shall be my people. I just can't see it. We've become a more secular nation. For better or worse, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying it's different now. Okay, so the religious thing has changed, and then we have education function. Education. Incidentally, I didn't quote that Bible verse quite right, but I'm in the ballpark. Education. In an earlier time, people learned to be farmers by watching their parents. I mean, girls would learn housekeeping and canning and all that kind of stuff from watching their mamas, and boys would learn how to farm from their dads. Well, what's happened is that we become very specialized, and most people don't farm anymore. Only about 1% farm. And so the vast majority of us are doing other things, and it's stuff that we can't learn at home. So, you know, my son is a chemist. I've never had a chemistry class. I couldn't teach him chemistry if my life depended on it, okay? So he had to go to a specialized institution. He graduated from East Central. So look at what you're going to do and ask yourselves, could your folks teach you that? And you don't have the lab facilities, you don't have the specialization, and all likelihood, probably not. So as society's become more specialized, okay, the training for that specialization has gotten more specialized, and it's moved itself away from the family. All right, next we've got leisure activity. In the old days, most leisure activity was done at home. When you played with somebody, you played with your brothers and sisters. If you wanted to have a baseball team, you get your brothers and sisters and maybe the kids down the road. But it was family-oriented, board games, stuff like that. As we become more specialized and as the technology has provided us with more stuff to do, people have become specialized. So now, you know, everybody has their own TV, everybody's got their own Nintendo or Xbox or whatever it is, and they go do their thing, okay? So when I was a kid, there were I didn't get a TV until I was 8 years old. And once we got the TV, there were 3 channels to watch. And it was good TV. I mean, it was good quality programming. And we would watch it as a family, you know, and it was kind of fun because then you could talk to other people the next day about a show because you knew pretty much everybody had seen it, right? Because, I mean, there's only 3 choices. And you'd yak about it, and it kind of brought us together. But now you got 200 channels, and, you know, people aren't watching the same stuff, and it's, you know, it's different. So the family used to be the focus of it, now not so much. Now it's more pure oriented. And then the last thing for this chapter, I know it's been a long chapter for you. The last thing is status control. The idea here is that the family used to identify you to the community as where you fit in, okay? Today, not so much so. And so in the old days, you were known by your family. If your family paid their bills on time and were good, solid citizens, the assumption was that you were the same, that you'd pay your bills on time. So it was easier to get along if your folks paid their bills on time. Now, you might be a reprobate and not pay your bills at all, but the assumption was if you came from a so-called good family, then you'd be a good person, pay your bills on time. And so in the old days, it was like, it was like, who's your daddy? I mean, it was like, I remember the first house I was going to build in South Carolina, and I go to this guy had a lumber mill in 6 Mile, South Carolina, in the Piedmont region. And the only question I asked him for a loan for a planting package, about $10,000. And the only question he asked me is, who's your daddy? Do I know your dad? Because but he was going to make that decision just based on that. He didn't ask about my credit rating, my education, my training, none of that. It was just, who's your daddy? So today the focus is on your credit rating, and it's not, when you go in to buy a car, they don't say who's your family. Now, if you come from a small town, they'll know you and they'll know your family, and it probably factors in. But you go to Oklahoma City, they don't know, they don't care. It's just based on your credit rating. So the family no longer confers our status, which is probably good, but it's just a function that we've lost. Okay, to kind of sum this up, the family is this institution that has, over time, has taken many different forms. And as is the case with the Israelis, it used to be synonymous with society. It was the society, the family was the society. And today we've gotten a more atomistic family where it's smaller, performs fewer functions, but the functions it does perform are vital. So we're always going to see the family, some form of the family. Okie dokie, we're done with this chapter. Hallelujah.